Good afternoon and welcome to today's ADWEEK webinar, where we will be talking a little bit today about why Black-owned media matters. And really what we're looking at here today is a demand for change and inclusion in media planning. I'm Stuart File, and I am going to be your host for today's webinar, which is being sponsored by the GRIO and by Entertainment Studios. Today, as you can tell, because you can see me, is a video webinar. We're very, very excited about the topic, and I'm sure everyone is going to get some great value from what we're sharing today. But before I begin the webinar, I'm just going to take a few minutes here and make sure that everyone in our audience knows the features of our platform and knows what to expect from our presentation today. Our actual presentation should go somewhere about 45 minutes. Afterwards, we're going to have plenty of time to take some questions from the audience, and I'm sure there will be plenty of questions on today's topic. If you do have a question, just simply use the question tool that you see there on the left side of your screen to submit your questions, and we're going to get to as many as we can following our live presentation. I also want to make sure that everyone has a chance to invite their colleagues to today's webinar. If you do have colleagues who you'd like to join, about 15 minutes ago, we sent everyone a final reminder email for today's webinar. In there, you'll find a link to the registration page, so grab that, send it off to your colleagues. There's still plenty of time for them to register. Come on in and join us live. If they can't make it live, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on demand. And we're going to send a link to that on-demand version to everyone about 3:30 Eastern time today. So certainly feel free to share that with your colleagues, or again, better yet, have them register and come on in and join us today or catch the recording later. Usually I recommend that people can download a copy of our slide deck. Our slides today are rather scant because everything is going to be on video. So probably more appropriately for everyone, again, it is going to be mostly an opportunity here for checking out the recording. And lastly, I just want to invite everyone to please check out our ADWEEK webinar calendar, www.adweek.com/webinars. You can see a full listing of all the upcoming webinars we have. You'll also get full access to our archive of on-demand webinars, which is everything we've done over the past year. Lots of things, lots of different topics. Again, adweek.com/webinars. Check it out. Listen, I want to really move on and just spend a moment here and introduce our speakers today. First off, we are really, really honored to be joined by Byron Allen. Byron is now, of course, the founder, chairman, and CEO of Entertainment Studios and also Allen Media Corporation. But more importantly, I mean, he's had a career, if you cover anything, he wrote jokes for Jimmy Walker. He was a TV host in the late 70s, early 80s. He ran his own, again, syndicated interview shows and has assembled now in Entertainment Studios and Allen Media, really quite the media operation of everything, again, from the Weather Channel to a whole bunch of Fox Sports networks that he recently purchased. Again, Comedy.tv, Pets.tv, and of course the GRIO, which is one of the hosts of today's webinar. So we are really happy to have Byron join us today. And Byron will also be joined by Natasha Alford. Natasha is the VP of Digital Content over at the GRIO. She's an award-winning journalist, digital host, millennial media executive. Really, alone, we are very honored to have her. She leads the national team of reporting at the GRIO, really talking about many of the critical news and issues that face the African-American community. And let me also share this one quote ahead of bringing in our speakers. And this is from Byron, and you may have seen this when you registered today, but just to state it very clearly, Black-owned media is not supported by many companies, and that is the very definition of systemic racism. Let's use this opportunity to work together and achieve a positive change. So with that in mind, let me right now bring to the stage here our speakers. So Natasha and Byron, welcome to you both.
Thank you, Stuart. That was a fabulous introduction. I'm going to take you on the road with me. I'm going to take you on the road. That was great.
Thank you so much, Stuart, for the kind introduction. If you are tuning in, we just want to welcome you from wherever you are tuning in from. Thank you so much for investing time in this moment, particularly right now with so much that's going on, for such an important conversation. Again, my name is Natasha Alford. I'm the VP of Digital at the GRIO and a senior correspondent. And I am honored to sit with my boss. He's the founder and CEO of Entertainment Studios, as you know, Mr. Byron Allen. Byron, it's great to see you. How are you?
Great. It's great to see you, Natasha, because I'm in LA and you in New York, and I think I haven't seen you in probably almost a year. And I want to add to your wonderful intro, Harvard grad. You know, you're always one of the smartest people in the room wherever you go. So it's great to work with you, and it's an honor. So I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Same. I do appreciate that. I am also a graduate of the School of Byron Allen, and I have learned a lot working for Entertainment Studios. And so it really is an honor.
We pay our students.
Right. It does go the other way.
We pay our students.
Well,
I wanted to, I'm really excited because, we, as Black people, we've made some serious history here in the courtroom. And I've always said they kill us in the schoolroom, they kill us in the boardroom, and they kill us in the courtroom long before they kill us in the streets. And so this was a big deal for us to have our lawsuit go for this past Friday against Charter for $10 billion. And I want to talk about that a little bit because that can't be overlooked.
Absolutely.
It's very important. The Obama administration came to me when all these big cable operators were trying to get bigger and buy one another. And they asked me, are these good corporate citizens? Are these good corporate citizens? And I said, do you want the real answer or do you want the Hollywood answer? They said, we want the real answer. I said, the answer is not no, it's hell no. These are not good corporate citizens' opinion at that time. And they said, well, everybody's afraid to speak up. I said, I'm not afraid to speak up. I'll speak up and I'll take care of it for once and for all. And I sued AT&T for $10 billion for racial discrimination and contracting with Black people. And that lawsuit was settled. I sued Comcast for $20 billion. That went all the way to the Supreme Court, and that lawsuit was settled. And we have a great relationship and a great partnership. But one of the things that always bothered me about settling those lawsuits is the judge didn't hit a gavel and say, Byron's has enough here. This is not right. And this lawsuit's going forward. I settled. But in the case of Charter, this past Friday, we made history using the Rights Act of 1866, Section 1981, and we have successfully filed a lawsuit for $10 billion against Charter. And the judge this past Friday said that $10 billion lawsuit is going forward. Now I'm going to be able to get their emails, their text, their contracts. And what I'm going to be able to show, and I've spent millions of dollars of my money. I own my company 100%. This is all my money. I'm not playing with anybody else's money. Okay? This is me. I've spent millions, and I mean millions, 5 years to get to this historic moment. Now I'm going to be able to show how the industry spends $70 billion a year licensing cable networks and barely a penny goes to Black-owned media. Black-owned, not Black-targeted. Black-owned. And why is Black-owned? I had a white guy ask me that. He goes, why not Black-targeted? I buy this, I buy that. I go, that's fine, buy that. Buy Black-targeted. I'm all for it. Go with Godspeed. Black-owned. I said, here's the difference. You're white, I'm Black. You have a daughter, I have a daughter. And my daughter had just been born. And I said, so how would you feel as a white man if I controlled the image of your daughter and how she's produced, depicted, and distributed around the world, which impacted her self-esteem and her self-image? Are you cool with me having control over your white daughter? And he said, no. And I said, why do you think I'm any different? Now that my daughter Chloe is here, I'm not asking for a seat, I'm taking one. And that is what triggered me to say, okay, I'm gonna sue these guys. And get them to tape. And we're gonna get distribution. Because distribution's key. That's key. And we have to control our image. So now we have successfully dealt with the cable industry. Took 5 years, but now it's time to deal with what I consider most racist of them all, the advertising industry. Madison Avenue is the epitome of racism. And now we're going to deal with Madison Avenue. Now, first thing I'm going to do, because one of those people at one of those big companies said to me, Byron, I really wish you had called me before you sued me for billions of dollars. I wish you had reached out to me. This is the chairman of one of those companies.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? You're right. Next time I am going to give notice. Next time I'm going to let people know, here's where we're going. And you can either get to the table in partnership or we can do it another way. But I guarantee you it's going to get done. I am not going to allow this to happen any further. I'm coming up on my 6th day. I've been dealing with this for almost 40 years. It's going to stop with me. I have nothing to lose and everything to gain because it's wrong, and I will put it down. I'm going to hold everybody accountable on Madison Avenue. We're going to speak at the Griot. I bought the Griot 4 years ago, and the Griot had less than 1 million monthly active users. In June, we had over 10.5 million monthly active users. We were number 2 to BET, which is amazing and been around, BT.com, amazing, been around for 40 years. And I haven't even begun to invest in the Griot. I haven't even begun. The Griot is one of the largest employer of Black journalists in America, and growing, and growing. So we're gonna be very clear about who is doing business with Black America, who isn't doing business with us. We're going to start boycotting those corporations, and I am going to aggressively start suing the agencies and the clients. And in some cases, the clients are going to become huge liabilities for the agencies, because the agency is going to carry out their racism, and those agencies are going to be held accountable. What now needs to happen is those agencies and those media holding companies, they need to tell their clients, there's no scenario in which we do with Black-owned media. You're going to have a budget for Black-owned media because that is a part of the problem. It is the very definition of systemic structural racism, and Byron Allen's going to hold us accountable without question. I have literally staff litigators, put litigators on my staff for this one reason, because it's been 30 years of my life of talking to these ad agencies, which are so white, very little diversity, and no shame. I've walked into ad agencies, white people, they act like they've never met a Black or Hispanic or an Asian person. They don't even know what Black History Month is and how important it is. They don't even know Black Music Month exists. So white is shameful. And that systemic racism just carries on. So I'm very proud of where we are, because that lawsuit going forward gives us the platform and the mechanism to hold corporate America accountable, because the greatest trade deficit in America is the trade deficit between Black America and corporate America. which is why you see so much poverty in our communities, because white corporate America does not do business with Black America. And white corporate America is committing economic genocide against Black America. And that is racism. And that is the problem in which you see unfolding in these streets. And Martin Luther King taught us that over 50 years ago, that there are two Americas. One America has access to opportunity, jobs, inclusion, home loans, bank loans. The other America does not. Two Americas will not survive. We must have one America. And when they killed Martin Luther King when I was 7 years old, and I couldn't stop crying, that was the moment I went from being a little boy to a man. I lost my childhood. Then I knew I had a purpose, which was going to address this, economic inclusion. And Coretta Scott King became a friend of mine because I bought the rights to her life story because I wanted to look at Martin Luther King through her eyes. And she said, Byron, as Black people, we had four major challenges. Number one, end slavery. Number two, end Jim Crow, which I think was more damaging than slavery, because when we were slaves, they considered us an asset. When we were free, they considered us a liability. And that's when they started murdering us, incarcerating us, and making sure we didn't have businesses. Never gave 40 acres in the mill. And she said, number three, achieve civil rights. And then she choked up and she said, and number four, the real reason they killed my Martin, the real reason they killed my Martin, achieve economic inclusion. Byron, that's why they killed my Martin. And it changed my life forever when she said those words. And I said to her, you and Martin have done enough. This generation will deal with the fourth and final chapter, economic inclusion. And she said, they're going to go to war over that. And I said, some things are worth dying for. I'd rather die on my feet than die on my knees. I've burned my knee pads. We're going to go to war, and we're going to stop the systemic racism on Madison Avenue. Or we can do it in a peaceful way.
Yeah, I mean, well, as you say, going to war, that's literally, you had to go into the courts in order to get that accountability that you spoke of, because even though people say they want to do the right thing, when it comes down to what happens behind closed doors, they don't always do it.
That's blah, 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 blah.
And so I want to move into what you were starting to paint a picture for us about your experiences with racism in the industry. So we talk about at the, the network level, but talk about some of the racism you've experienced when it comes to advertising and the many dollars that are out there that people refuse to give to Black-owned media.
You know what? Like, it really became. Well, look, I've told this before. Where Rupert Murdoch came here from the UK and he starts Fox Network, and Rupert Murdoch, this white billionaire, a show about young Black kids that are friends called Living Single with Queen Latifah. And then NBC's got a show called Friends with some white kids and blah, blah, blah. And at the beginning, they were doing about the same rating on the same demo. And Rupert was sitting in a meeting and he was like, well, why aren't we getting the same amount of money from Living Friends? It's the same rating, the same demo. And his staff had to explain to them, because this is a Black cast. And white Madison Avenue wants to buy a white show called Friends, not a show with a bunch of Black people. So white Madison Avenue sent a strong message to Rupert Murdoch at that moment, don't bring me stuff. And when I think about, I have a list of all the advertisers who wouldn't put one nickel in a Martin Luther King Black History Month special. Now, I found that personally offensive. And they pull millions of dollars out of the Black community. And they're horrendous. And by the way, they're not all bad. I mean, look, we have a great relationship with Johnson & Johnson. I love Johnson & Johnson. They give us what I consider a fair allocation and fair CPMs. A lot of Madison Avenue, if they do something with you, It is a minimal allocation and the horrible CPMs. Horrible CPMs. So we have a great relationship with Johnson & Johnson. They do a multi-year deal with us. It's the first time somebody sat with me and said, I want to do a multi-year deal with you because I want to make sure you have plenty of runway and you can think about how to invest and do more of this family-friendly content. That's going to be in my book. We have a great relationship with PepsiCo. PepsiCo, not only are they sponsoring our shows, when I called them and said, I want to do an event to raise money for Children's Hospital, they've been there every year. We're going into our 5th year to raise money for Children's Hospital, Los Angeles. Okay, that's PepsiCo.
What about their competitor?
Coca-Cola is the worst. They're the worst. Coca-Cola is a disgrace. And they don't spend one penny with us. Not one penny. I am the largest owner of Black-owned media company. I'm the largest, black or white. Okay, I bought the Weather Channel in 2018. Okay, and this is the #1 weather news network in America, no close second. Last week during Hurricane Laura, we were number 2. Number 2. We were only number 2 to Fox News because of Donald Trump's circus at the Republican convention. And if that clown hadn't been doing the Republican convention, we would have been number 1. Okay? No close second. And you know what the government said? We're on track to have the worst hurricane season in over 100 years. In over 100 years. Last year we had 12 hurricanes. Because of climate change and global warming, strap yourself in, people. You're going to be watching the Weather Channel a lot. Weather Channel is going to end up being the #1 cable network in America over the next year because of climate change and global warming. We're on track to, last year we had 12 hurricanes. We're on track to have over 25 hurricanes, and 4 or 5 of them will be as big or worse than Hurricane Katrina. Strap yourself in, ladies and gentlemen. So when you look at somebody like a Coca-Cola who takes all this money out of the Black community, it's like, come on, the head, the CMO, Manuel, I mean, who, sounds like, he might be a minority himself. Like, you can do better, Manuel, Aurora. You can do better. Lean in. How do you not do business with Black-owned media? Everybody needs to lean in and do business with Black-owned media. How disgraceful. McDonald's. Put aside the issues they're having with their former CEO and finding out he was sexually harassing everybody. McDonald's doesn't spend, and they just got sued today. McDonald's just got sued by their Black franchisees for putting all their Black entrepreneurs in bad neighborhoods with low-performing stores. McDonald's is shameful. McDonald's doesn't spend 1 nickel with me. Like, people who watch the Weather Channel don't eat food. McDonald's is horrendous. And when I think about the CMO, Morgan Flatley, and the CEO, Chris, come on, guys. You're better than this. Sit down with me. Talk to me. We got to fix this. This is unacceptable. I mean, when I go on and on, I could talk. I mean, the other thing I find that's common, you take a Group M. Group M, ridiculous. Group M will come in here, and folks like Colgate, Bayer, Nestle's, Mars, on my syndication side. Now, some of them will buy the Weather Channel before I bought it. Now, remember, the Weather Channel was white-owned. You don't get what you did with the Weather Channel. I'm talking about on my syndication, the Griot, the #1 digital news operation in America that's Black. Not undisputed. Not even a close second. #1. And it's going to quadruple. Okay? What I find when I looked at it, they'll throw me that token, here's a little bit of money, shut up Negro money. Here's just enough so I can get this Negro to shut up and leave us alone. And then what you notice, and here's the great thing, Jay-Z said it best, men and women lie, numbers don't.
That's right.
Okay. Jay-Z said it best. And what you're going to find with these lawsuits, the numbers aren't going to lie. How is it that you, on Black-owned media, and this was not easy. I was able to do it on cable. It's going to be much easier with these ad agencies and these clients. How are you like throwing these literally nothing to 50 grand a year? And then literally with Group M, I have clients who did not give me a single increase in CPMs over 10 years when my white counterparts who are doing business at Group M on those same clients got 30, 40% increases. Colgate, Bayer, Nestle, Mars, or nothing. General Mills, like black people don't do business with, don't eat General Mills, do business. General Mills spends this with us. I mean, and I talk to my other friends out of business because they couldn't get black-owned support. You should be buying Black Enterprise, blackenterprise.com. You should be buying the magazine, but you should definitely be buying a lot. Amazon. Come on, Amazon. Create a budget for black-owned media. You know what I do with Amazon? Zero. We own the Weather Channel. I am the only African-American to own Big Four network affiliates, ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliates around the country. That's a shameful statement. 2020, you're looking at the only black person that owns Big Four network affiliates. I have a portfolio of 8 cable networks, a streaming service called Local Now, and the Griot. And you're talking about if they're not doing business with me, I know that next black person next to me or right behind me, right, going to be able to get the door. They're going to be shut out, and they're going to continue to shut down. Look at Ebony. Ebony filed bankruptcy. Ebony, we grew up. It's such a loss. It's black people. We grew up with Ebony on our coffee table. Okay,
and
75. Right, and Jet.
Yeah,
for 75 years. You white, racist Madison Avenue, you put it in bankruptcy. You were paying them $15,000 a page and paying the white magazines $250,000 a page. You're part of the systemic racism. So don't come here into this webinar if you think this is going to be nice and friendly and fluffy and I'm not. That's not me. That's not me. You know, when you talk about, to answer your question, I have a list. I have emails. I've been collecting the on all of these agencies. It's shameful, Natasha. I have emails where they say, we don't buy court shows other than Judge Judy, because we're the largest producer of court shows, right?
And you have judges of color. You have judges of color, black, Latino.
Right. I have 5 court shows on the air, right? 4 African Americans, Judge Ross, Judge Hatchett, Judge Maybelline, Judge Karen, and 1 Latina, Judge Christina Perez. Emmy Award-winning Christina Perez, like the best talent ever. So when you say we don't buy court shows, we just buy Judge Judy, what you just said is we don't buy black and Latina court shows, but we do buy the white woman. Mm-hmm. That is systemic racism. Mm-hmm. Okay? It is what it is. And by the way, This will be the easiest thing we'll ever prove in a courtroom. It will take 5 minutes. And then the numbers don't lie. The numbers are real. And when you look at how many gross rating points our syndication division delivers, 150 gross rating points a week and counting. 150 gross rating points per week and counting. Corporate America, lean in. And I know, listen, I'm in business with Verizon on the distribution side. They carry our networks, but I'm disappointed on the ad side. We do not do 1 ounce of business with Verizon on the ad side. I'm in business with AT&T in a significant way. Thank you, AT&T. Thank you, AT&T. But Verizon doesn't spend a nickel with us. And then when I spoke to Verizon, and they sent an executive to us to talk to Verizon, and I actually got in on that call, and it wasn't the CMO, John Nettie. I think John needs to get in the room with me, or Zoom call. The person who reports to him says, we have enough cable. We're not going to buy the Weather Channel. And I'm like, you done lost your damn mind. You're not going to buy the Weather Channel because you have enough cable? This is the largest black-owned cable network in America, and it's not in your cable buy? That's unacceptable. That thought pattern is unacceptable. That saying that is unacceptable. And let me be really clear, I'm not happy about it. I'm not happy about it. And you know how we're gonna fix this, Natasha? I'm gonna hold everybody accountable. And I'm gonna stop all the little shenanigans where they set these little boxes, they set your CPMs really low, where you don't even want their money. You know, I have to tell you, I really have enjoyed what I've been reading from Mark Pritchard at P&G, and I've enjoyed my content. He's the head of P&G on the brand advertising. I like him. I think he's a good guy. And, you know, but I got to be honest. I just said, listen, dude, you're great. There's two things here. And P&G is known for having the best rates, you know, the lowest CPMs. And I just said, I want to be in business with you, but it's got to work for both of us. I can't have you be the lowest CPMs I have. Out of a couple of hundred, almost, you know, a couple of hundred advertisers, I can't have you be at the bottom. I'm not even asking you to be number one, but I got to get you to the middle. Because here's what happens. If you keep your CPMs down here, I can't afford to take your money. And now we haven't accomplished anything. And by the way, I believe there needs to be reciprocity in this country and in Madison Avenue and as it relates to Black-owned media, because we have to do some catching up when Madison Avenue has taken out Black-owned media, and there isn't anybody on Madison Avenue named more than 100% Black-owned companies. And if you can't do that, then you have to say, I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the problem.
Right. And as you're talking, so we talked about the problem. We talked about some of your experiences. We've named names. I want to talk about how we can move from that mindset of doing charity, quote unquote, right? When people try to give you these charity offers or even just donations to actually doing business. What does business look like? And what does it look like to take advantage of the opportunity? Because we have talent. We have a really great product to offer. So what does that look like?
Great question, Natasha, which is why you're the best. Stop with the tokens. I can't stand, the one thing I can't stand about this Black Lives Matter movement, all the white people calling me and emailing me wanting to know who to donate to. It's like, to me, I consider that racist. I'm not a charity. You're not my savior. This is not a give me. I'm not looking for a handout. Nobody has ever worked harder than me to build this media company from my dining room table with nothing. I started from my dining room table with nothing and a phone 27 years ago. A bank loan the first 20 years of my existence. Also racism. I had to go to factors to, you know, bring in to factor my receivables from Johnson & Johnson and some of the biggest advertisers because I couldn't wait, you know, whatever, 60, 90, 120 days. And the factors charged me 27%. So stop with the donations. The donations are not sustainable, and I personally consider them insulting and racist. I don't want your donation. I want a real partnership. What does that look like? Real economic inclusion from everybody. Everybody needs to have a Black-owned media box. Everybody is spending money with us at fair market CPMs. None of this low CPMs. You got to be real. You got to get to the table. So many of these white corporations just want to minimize Black people. How much money? Get this Negro a few dollars so they can shut up and say I didn't do anything. Or they're even worse. They donate money to certain Black organizations and say we have a memorandum of understanding with Black people, right?
As if we're all Black people.
Yeah, we're for all Black people. You know, Tom Rutledge. You know, when I sued Tom Charter, I said I sued you because I saw you in the newspaper with a photo with Al Sharpton, and you said you had a memorandum of understanding with Black people. And I sued you and Al Sharpton. And I sued the Urban League. And I sued the NAACP, and I said, don't try and act like you're Black people. You don't. And I asked Tom Rutledge, I said, Tom, you're a white man. Who's the white man that speaks for all white people? And if that white man doesn't exist, why do you think there's a Black man that speaks for Black people? Like there's a head Native. The very idea that you have a memorandum of understanding is a racist idea. And this lawsuit went forward against Charter for $10 billion. Look at their legal defense. I predict Tom Rutledge may lose his job. There's a lot of people upset, and I'm telling you, we're getting it. We're getting the calls. A lot of people are upset with Tom Rutledge, and don't be surprised if they call for his resignation. They went into a courtroom to try and defend. You know what they said in the courtroom? This is what Tom Rutledge Charter did. They went to a courtroom and said the First Amendment gives them the right to discriminate against Black people, against minorities, right? Because of the legal precedent of the Hurley case.
You're talking about the Supreme Court case. For anyone who's trying to keep up, Supreme Court case.
Right. So this was the defense of Charter in a $10 billion lawsuit against them. They sent in their lawyer, Patrick Philbin, who also went on to defend Donald Trump in his impeachment hearings. Their defense, Charter, that they could use the Hurley case, which was the Supreme Court decision in 1995, a horrible decision, a major miscarriage of justice, disgusting, against gay people. A group of gay people wanted to be in a parade in Boston. The parade organizers said, gay cannot be in our parade, right? So the gay community sues the parade organizers. It goes all the way to the Supreme Court, and the parade organizers, they prevail, and they use the First Amendment and said that having them in the parade changes their freedom of expression. So,
and they tried to apply that in your case.
And Charter tried to apply that miscarriage of justice against gay people. They should have walked into a courtroom and denounced that ruling, denounced it. But instead, they walked into a courtroom and tried to supersize it and drop it on Black people and over 100 million Americans. That is racism. And not only is it racism, Judge Wu told them twice, you're out of your mind. And then they took it to the Ninth Circuit, and the Ninth Circuit said, you're out of your mind. It goes all the way to the Supreme Court and comes back, and now it's going forward. And by the sued Charter, they had 11 white guys on their board. 11 white guys. 11 white guys got together every 90 days, looked around and said, this feels good. These knuckleheads didn't even have a woman on their board, somebody who represents 60% of the global population, let alone African-American, Asian, Hispanic. It's insane. And by the way, when I sued them 5 years ago, this started 5 years ago, these knuckleheads with thousands and thousands of employees didn't even have a chief diversity officer. I'm enjoying myself. To be honest with you. I'm enjoying this. One of the things I enjoyed most, one of the executives at the company we sued said, Byron Allen's having fun. And I have to tell you, I smiled and said, wow, I didn't realize it was that obvious. I am having fun. It's cathartic.
Not the racism part, the accountability part.
Holding them accountable.
Accountability.
I'm having fun because if I don't do it, I will explode. And so it's like a great workout.
And you are rare. You're rare. Yeah. You occupy a very unique position, which is a reflection of the systemic racism that you are the only owner of, one of these networks, right? So that's what we're talking about when we talk about advocacy. I have to hold you to this question, though, about what the actual steps are, though. So for the people who are watching this call and who are saying...
So real simple. Corporate, ad agencies, you need to tell your clients you're going to have a budget for Black-owned media or we're dropping you. Or you're going to sign legal papers saying we're not legally exposed for you not including Black-owned media. I would recommend that to the ad community. Do yourself a favor. You want to indemnify yourself from that corporate racism. Indemnify yourself. Corporations, you need to make sure you have a budget and you're including Black-owned media because those are jobs and opportunities and investments in our company. And if you don't do it, it's your decision. And at least I did what I was supposed to do. Because one of the people I sued for 10, 20 billion, they said, how come you didn't talk to me first? Guess what? This webinar is officially, I've had conversation with everybody on Madison Avenue. Say no more. At this point, now I get to have my fun. I get to hold everybody accountable because I have to hold people accountable just for my own sanity. And I'm enjoying myself because I'm not going to leave this for my kids to deal with. That's not happening. That's not happening. And Black America will no longer be shut out. And I was blessed to have a relationship with Martin Luther King's widow, Coretta Scott King, the true queen of America, the true queen of America. And when she told me, Byron, it's the fourth and final chapter, that's why they killed us. It's never, when they brought us here to be slaves, it's about money. It was about making white America wealthy. And when we were no longer enslaved to make white America wealthy, then we went from being an asset to a liability. That's why they incarcerate us. That's why you watch them murder us and keep a knee on our neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, because they see us less than human. Because we were here to make them wealthy. And the moment we are no longer an asset, incarcerate them, lynch them, murder them, bomb their towns, get rid of them, make sure they don't have any economic inclusion, we will commit economic genocide against them. And now you're poor, and it's drugs, and it's alcohol, and it's gangs, and it's self-hatred, because we have positioned you to fail. That stops with me, and that stops right here on Madison Avenue. I'm not doing it. And I'm trying to hold them accountable.
So, before we go over
answer your question. They're going to have to lean in, and they're going to have to invest real money in Black-owned media, not token go-away Negro money, real CPMs. And you know what? A number of them are going to have to lose their careers first, and they will. A number of people in my lawsuits against the cable industry, Google it. A number of them lost their careers over this because they were hard-headed. That systemic racism was so hardwired in them, they couldn't imagine handing over a little bit of money to a Negro. They had to, and I'm telling you, I know this. I know a lot of these players on Madison Avenue. They're gonna get taken out. They're gonna lose their careers, and then the rest they will figure it out. But it's unacceptable. It's deplorable. Numbers don't lie. Thank you, Jay-Z.
Well, before we go to your questions, I have to ask this final question. This is really just about, regardless of people doing the right thing, we have something to offer, right? There's something that is, again, quality product, the storytelling. When I think about the griot and the ways in which we get exclusives and we ask questions that other people aren't thinking to ask, can you just tell us what are some of those things that Entertainment Studios, Weather Channel, the griot is offering that people would be excited to partner with us about? Because again, this is not charity, this is business.
This is business. The Weather Channel is phenomenal. Voted the most trusted news brand in America 10 consecutive years in a row. Verizon, how are you not in business with that? Coca-Cola, how are you not in business with that? Stop it. It voted the number 5 of the most trusted news brand in America, most trusted brand in America. Number 5, ahead of the Walt Disney Company. It was history when me, as a Black man, I bought that network in March of 2018, the first general market network widely distributed and the first news operation in America owned by a Black man. For me to do that from my dining room table with a phone, and there were days I didn't eat and days they were turning off my phone. For me to do that over 27 years, I survived off of 1-800 spray on hair and ads. If I never would have had one advertiser. That's how I literally ate every other day, because of 1-800 spray on hair. Okay? We have phenomenal platforms. Our TV stations are the best. In some cases, we're number 1 and number 2 with our TV stations. The griot is amazing. The number 1 owned African-American news and information site. And it's going to be announced here, but we bought a broadcast network. And the Grio is going to be a broadcast network, linear, 24 hours, and a streaming service. So you're going to be able to have the Grio in a laid-back experience on TV, and you're going to have it streaming, okay? And it's 100% Black-owned, and it's number one. Number one. Local Now is phenomenal. Local Now is a streaming service that provides local news, weather, sports, and traffic in real time, geofenced to your zip code. When I bought the Weather Channel, I had that, and they thought I was going to shut it down because it was losing $25 million a year. And the guy explained to me what it was. I said, I'm not shutting that down. This is the most phenomenal thing I've ever heard. Now I've added it free, and they were trying to get people to pay $9.99 a month. I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make it free. It's going to be ad supported. And I did thousands of movies and TV shows and channels. And so and you're going to hear some big announcements about Local Now. So Local Now streaming services and our apps is a Grio. We're in streaming. We're direct to the consumer. Our syndicated shows. When you think about all of what we do in terms of our game show, funny you should ask. Let me just share this with you. I took 2 shows off the Weather Channel, some of our highest rated shows on the Weather Channel, 2 weekly 1-hour shows. Our distribution team cleared it on 99% of West television homes. Damn near a network lineup. And ABC, NBC, CBS, based on the Nielsen track, it looks like we're going to do about a 1.7 household rating. This is a network lineup. This is a network rating and network content because it was sitting on the shelf. And I said to my sales team, go give this to the broadcast stations. Broadcast stations ate it up like freshly baked chocolate chip cookies. And listen, we have our specials, there's look, right. We have plenty to do. Come in Group M, they need to lean in. They need to get to the table, all of these groups, and they need to do multi-year deal. Magna Global, Coca-Cola, like, God, stop.
Yeah.
And I'm really, like I said, I said it last time, Mary Barra, I think you're sincere when you say Black Lives Matter, but Mary, you got to lean in with and support African-American owned media. I will say this about GM is that when the pandemic hit and we did shelter in place in March, GM was the only advertiser with all of our. If you don't let us do a pay cut, because they were past options, if you don't let us do a pay cut in the second quarter, then you can kiss us goodbye. Like, really? You're going to go to the government for a bailout and for support, and this is what you're going to do to Black-owned media? Mary, you need to wake up and lean in. And GM, you need to lean in. I'm going to hold everybody accountable.
All right, Byron. Well, we've had a great conversation, and I'm going to turn it back over to Stuart for all these excellent questions. We've got dozens of questions. We're going to try to get to as many as we can. Byron, I know you have a lot to share, but yes, you have a lot of questions waiting for you.
He sure does. Listen, we're going to get to Byron. I'm going to give you a chance to catch your breath for a second. And we're going to get into some of these questions. I want to remind our audience.
We haven't even started.
I know. Unfortunately, we only got 10 minutes left.
10 minutes. It cuts off in 10 minutes, Byron, just FYI.
I want to get as many as possible. I'm going to make them 30-second answers. Let's do it.
Okay. So Byron, before we get to your questions, I'm just going to give you a second. I just want to remind our audience, this webinar has been recorded, and we're going to send everyone a link to this recording about 3:30 Eastern time today. So check your email. I'm sure you've got colleagues who you want to share this with. Okay.
Yeah, my mother. I want my mother to see it. My mother and my wife and kids. That's all I care about.
I'll send you the recording directly. All right.
Thank you.
So I just want to let our audience go again. 3:30. Please check your email. Share this out. Byron, first question. We got a lot coming in from people who are working for smaller Black-owned media companies who may be part of a larger agency and want to start to make changes within that agency that you're talking about. We talk about this as a movement. What can they do to get involved? If you're a smaller publisher, what can you do to start to be part of the consideration phase?
Well, I think if they're working at an agency, you got to go to the top of the house. The problem, that's when the fish stinks from the head down. We're going to hold all the CMOs and the CEOs. We want their careers to be at stake. Go to the top, make a record. I'm coming to you, and I'm registering an issue. And listen, you got to say it. There's a guy who works for me. He's white. His name is Darren Gallett. Darren Gallett worked at an ad agency called Cara. He told me he quit because he felt like he witnessed racism. This is a white man saying this to me. Okay? Because when he said to Cara, you should cut these shows from Byron Allen and Don Cornelius and Don Jackson, they said, shut up, and gave him major attitude. That's real. That's real. That happened at Cara, and there's a white man who now works for me who told me that. You got to register that. And you know how we fix this? Transparency. You know why he's going through this movement? Because the iPhone is recording everything. The racism has always been there. The iPhone allowed us to record it and distribute it globally. The racism's always been there. The reason why I'm so loud, proud, and vocal, I am the human iPhone. I am putting eyes on these issues, and I'm distributing it globally. If we didn't have the iPhone, there wouldn't be a Black Lives Matter movement. Expose it. When you see it, expose it, denounce it, and shut it down. Charter, you can't go into a courtroom and say, the discrimination we put on gay people now, let's do it to black people. Shame on you, you need to resign. Next.
All right. What do you respond to people when the discussion now is about everything being programmatic and buys are being made on algorithm as people are being followed around the web as this goes on, and that they say, well, algorithms aren't racist. They're how do you approach that, and how do you respond to that as people are hearing it?
Great question, and great question, but I'm not so sure algorithms can't be racist. You need to make sure that you have money in your programmatic for Black-owned media. And you can program your programmatic algorithms to make sure that money is chasing down Black-owned media, because Black-owned media historically is going to have somewhat of a smaller audience. Don't use algorithms as an excuse not to do Black-owned media. That's shenanigans. Next question.
Okay. When we got back to this again, on the first one, we talked about people within an agency. I want to talk about smaller media companies that want to be part of what you're doing here, that they want to be in the consideration phase. So if you are, what can they do? What is their step?
Black-owned media has one drop of water in its swimming pool, so you can't go swimming. I'm filling the ocean. Okay, there's an ocean of capital for white-owned media that allows white media companies to swim and have a great time. We don't have a drop. I get water in our swimming pool, in our ocean. Everybody, you are positioned to fail. I am a unicorn. I am an anomaly. I should have never made it. And most of the people I had didn't make it.
Got it. So many questions here, Byron. Hard to choose one. Listen, some people are bringing up here this idea of the chicken and egg syndrome. Go ahead, Byron.
Black-owned media, I'm positioning you to succeed. You're positioned to fail. Chicken and egg. Yeah, question, which is why I'm saying to these clients and agencies, you can't, hold us to the same standard of low CPMs. And when you get to this or you get to that, you need to make an investment. And some of those investments need to be non-guaranteed because you're investing in our success. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have to get away from guarantee in some cases with Black-owned media because you have to grow us, because this is, 100 years of just shutting us out and making sure we have little allocation, horrible CPMs, and giving us lots of excuses. No more excuses. No more excuses. You cannot. Okay. There isn't a bank in the world where you can deposit excuses. So I don't accept them. We are not going to accept them. We can't deposit them. You keep the excuses, put them in your own little excuse bank, wherever that is. We can't accept them. Next question.
That's actually printed on a wall, by the way, at our company. Back when we came to the office. It's on a wall.
Great. So last question. Every one of these organizations that has a huge DEI organization or in diversity and inclusion office talks about it on a means of hiring and things like that. How do they transition that into a business environment where it is about being diverse and inclusive in their buying, not just in their hiring?
Yeah, you know what? I would say, these chief diversity officers and this and that, a lot of them are nothing more than black window dressing, even if they're black. I've seen chief diversity officers be white people. But a lot of these are just black window dressing, have no power, have no budget, can't do anything. They're fighting a corporate fight that's always flushing them down the toilet. Screw that. Forget them. Have them exit stage left. The CEOs and the chairmen need to become the chief investment diversity officer. Yeah, it's your career that's on the line. You need to lean in and make sure you're investing in the black community and stop the systemic racism. Because these people, they're frustrated because they just kind of have them there as window dressing. Because it's not to figure out how to spend money with black people. We can put a man on the moon, but in 300-400 years, we can't figure out how to spend money with black people. Stop all that shenanigans. So that's just shenanigans.
Byron, I would love to continue this conversation, but we are approaching the top of the hour. I want to thank you. I cannot tell you the number of questions.
Like every week, every month. This isn't a one-time conversation.
Oh, no.
I am going to update the world on everybody on a weekly, monthly basis, and we're going to publish a list, and we're going to organize, because social media is powerful. Now we're reaching over 10 million people a month with the grill. We can let people know time of day it is. Here's who's killing you.
Byron, this has been a fantastic conversation. Again, I want to thank you. You're candid, your passion, everything about you has just been enlightening, and we have loved having you as part of this. And Natasha, as much as it's hard, I know, to occasionally get the questions in on all of this, I want to thank you as well. Again, just such a great conversation and everything. Again, to our audience, please look for the recording, share this out with your colleagues, spread the word on what's going on. adweek.com/webinars, see what we've got coming up. And again, I want to thank everyone. In particular, I want to thank Byron Allen for sharing time here. I want to thank our audience for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing everyone at an upcoming AdWeek webinar.
And McDonald's, stop treating black people so poorly. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.